and thank you for being here. Our names are Dr. Kim Allen and Ellen Chapman. The two of us, in addition to Dr. Terry Brock, research archaeologist at the Montpelier Foundation, make up the steering committee for RVA Archaeology, an organization recently founded to promote opportunities for public engagement with and research of Richmond's archaeological resources. We have scheduled this meeting with the press to discuss two things. First, the need for Richmond to act as better stewards towards their rich archaeological resources. And second, our questions regarding the mayor's plan for archaeological investigation at the development sites included in the revitalized RVA plan. Richmond has rich historical, architectural, and archaeological resources, but archaeology is currently underutilized as a tool to investigate the city's past. Our organization believes that the city has a responsibility to better protect, mitigate, and use these resources to learn from and promote our city's heritage, particularly as it moves towards becoming a Tier 1 city. Currently, Richmond's laws do not adequately account for archaeological impacts, particularly at areas of the old and historical districts, outside the old and historic districts, which places many areas of historical significance at risk. This can be seen specifically in the area impacted by development in Shockoe Bottom, which currently is not located in an old and historic district. This development area has not been the subject of archaeological investigations, despite its status as the oldest neighborhood in the city and its listing as part of a National Registered Historic District. The area covered by the proposed development is known as the historic site of at least 3 slave trader sites, a Civil War hospital, numerous historic commercial buildings, and a 2-block section of the original 1737 town plan for Richmond. While these structures no longer appear on the landscape, there is great potential that they exist archaeologically. Given these cultural resources, this 8-acre site represents a critical opportunity for the city of Richmond to truly engage with its archaeological resources in a meaningful way.
We are pleased to know that the mayor has considered some of the concerns of the community regarding archaeological excavations. We understand that this afternoon, during the informal session of City Council, there will be a presentation of the findings of the archaeological study, the first part of the archaeological and historical review process that's presented on March 27th. When this plan was announced, we looked forward to engaging with the mayor in a dialogue about how to improve the plan. And in April, we posed several questions for clarification about the proposal itself. These questions and related concerns were collected from professional archaeologists in the city and surrounding areas, including the Council for Virginia Archaeologists. They were sent to the mayor's office and to members of City Council and entered into the record at the May 12th City Council meeting. We have yet to hear from the mayor regarding our concerns. So today, we are eager to hear the results of that initial archaeological study in hopes that some of these concerns will be addressed. Given that the mayor's plan has already begun, we have additional questions that we hope will be addressed during this afternoon's briefings. Our specific questions include the following. What area of the project will this plan cover? Is it only going to cover the ballpark, the baseball stadium footprint, or will it also extend to the associated private development projects, like the proposed grocery store, museum, hotel, and other elements? Which federal agencies has the city contacted regarding their interest in initiating a Section 106 historical and archaeological review? Does this archaeological plan take into consideration the potential for finding archaeological sites at the site of the boulevard development? How will this archaeological plan proactively identify site deposits to avoid the discovery of significant sites during development, during construction activities? If archaeological deposits are uncovered by construction monitoring, what will be the criteria for conducting an excavation? What time frame will archaeologists have to record remains discovered in this manner? What will the procedure be if a large number of human burials or other skeletal remains are uncovered? What is the budget for this undertaking? What is the conservation and curation plan for artifacts recovered in this project? What level of archaeological investigations will be performed on identified sites that are not associated with the slave trade, such as the city's founding and the Civil War period? What will be the process for assessing archaeological and historical significance and selecting sites for excavation? Will sites of historical significance be excavated fully, or is there opportunity for archaeological excavations to change the development plans to protect and preserve these sites? How is the mayor's panel of experts selected? And what are their responsibilities? Is it possible for members of the public to participate or inform their selection? What happens if the amount of archaeological work that is necessary to properly mitigate the development area exceeds the allotted 4 months?
These are our questions regarding the mayor's plan for archaeological investigation. It has been our pleasure to introduce you to RVA Archaeology this morning. You are invited to join us at our next meeting scheduled for Saturday, May 31st at 10 a.m. at the Black History Museum and Cultural Center located at 00 Clay Street in historic Jackson Ward. Thank you again for joining us this morning, and now we'd be happy to take your questions.
I remember the meeting at the public library in February. You were actually very excited about what the mayor had just announced. It sounds like nothing really happened to that point at all. Is there any formal discussion with the mayor's office about the archaeological study?
Well, we've posed in the aftermath of the symposium, we've posed a number of questions to the city administration regarding the proposed archaeological initiative. And as we've said, we've yet to hear a response to those questions. So we're eager to hear this afternoon from the mayor's office the results of that initial archaeological study that was announced last week.
And as I recall, the archaeological study initially, there was the data and research phase before we got into actual excavation. Is that your understanding of where it is?
We don't have any information directly or indirectly other than that press release that I imagine that you've read. The press release specifically describes doing an archaeological and historical review, which might include things such as looking at historical photos, looking at existing sites that are registered with the Department of Historic Resources, and looking at historical information about what might exist in the area. The plan was not specific about whether it would involve any type of testing to find intact archaeological deposits that are not suggested by the historical record. And that would be actual ground penetrating work, such as test pits, shovel test pits, or coring, or things of that nature.
And that is what you referred to in your statement about how to identify site deposits ahead of time so you don't find them in construction.
Yes, exactly. Historical research is an essential element of doing any kind of archaeological review prior to breaking ground. But on a lot of archaeological sites, there are unanticipated discoveries. And so often archaeologists perform what's called a phase one, which includes types of document review, but also includes the survey that's appropriate for the type of area, which could be field walking in plowed fields or something like that, but it could also mean other types of ground penetrating activity. But a historical document review is always the first step. We are not entirely sure what the city administration will discuss at the council meeting this afternoon, so we look forward to hearing more.
Any studies going on now?
I'm sorry?
Studies going on now?
Any studies currently going on now? None that we're aware of, other than what was announced to be, the results of which to be announced this afternoon.
One of the interesting things about the symposium and other discussion beyond this issue of this law of creating an ordinance code for archaeological review, a review board, not hiring a city archaeologist, a person, the archaeologist, city archaeologist, any progress in the
Yes, and so we were very excited and eager to hear from participants at the symposium of an interest to further explore Richmond's rich archaeological resources beyond those that are located here in Shockoe Bottom. And so a working group developed out of that symposium, and it has been named RVA Archaeology. And we've had an initial meeting earlier in May, and we're having a second meeting on Saturday, May 31st. And part of what we're planning for June is a field trip, a fact-finding trip to Alexandria to speak with its city archaeologists and archaeology staff, historical staff there, to learn about how they developed that office, how it gets funded, how it impacts and increases tourism in Alexandria, and all of those questions, and how an ordinance developed, and all of that. And so we're very excited and pleased to report that there's been some real forward progress from our symposium.
I would just also say that another focus of our group is the interpretation of the archaeology, because often if archaeology precedes commercial development, a site might be found, excavated, recorded with DHR, but then the community around it doesn't necessarily benefit in any way from that information. It doesn't help us understand Richmond's past and Richmond's trajectory. We don't have any visible interpretation on the landscape. So one of our other focuses going forward that we're really excited about is to talk with the public about what they're interested in, find out things that they know that we might not know, and help develop greater interpretation for Richmond's archaeological resources just around town generally.
And one of the pieces that we were really excited about in the mayor's archaeology initiative was the promise of engaging school-age children in this kind of work. And so archaeology, of course, is a very hands-on activity, at least the excavation part of it. And it's an opportunity for our school children to engage with their history in a way that hasn't yet been possible, and to learn who they are, who we've been, and who we can become as a city. And so RVA Archaeology, on two fronts, exists to develop an infrastructure so that the city itself the city administration can be better stewards of our resources, but also for us in the public to be better stewards of our city's archaeological resources.
Looking over the list that you have, are you pretty confident that the mayor and his staff at today's meeting will be able to answer all the questions that you're posing?
We can't say with any confidence. We are just really eager to hear what there is, what's been found, what's going to be reported.
And if all of your questions aren't answered, then what do you do next?
Well, we'll ask again. These are important questions for us to consider as we as a city decide on what's the best move forward and how we can best learn our history.
The council hasn't been any more responsive than the mayor. The council would have to be involved in creating the ordinance.
We've had some interest from council. In fact, Councilwoman Ellen Robertson, back in, I think it was February, asked for some input on the mayor's archaeology plan from us archaeologists. And so that is what triggered our written response to the mayor's archaeology initiative. And there have been several council persons since who've been interested in what we found and what we recommend.
And I would also say that one of our co-founders, Dr. Terry Brock, had early questions about what type of archaeological review would be performed at some of the one of the joint meetings between Councilman Agilesto and Councilman Samuels. And so he met with both of them, and we were very pleased to see Charles Samuels focus on how important an archaeological review of this site would be prior to approval of the development. So we haven't communicated with them directly, but there are a lot of encouraging signs.
Any other questions for us? It's been our pleasure to introduce ourselves to you and to share with you our concerns and questions about a very important plan for our city's future. Thank you.
Thank you very much.